I don't know about you, but I'm sick and tired of buying food at the grocery store and spending so much of our hard-earned money at checkout only to bring all the food home and be so disappointed in the quality of the produce that we're bringing home. But not just that, the chemicals that we have to avoid and actually pay more to buy the food with less chemicals. You would think the chemical-ridden food would cost more, but it's actually the opposite. It's a crazy world that we're living in right now. So I had a radical idea this year. Why don't we transform our backyard into a food forest, a food paradise, where almost every square foot of our half-acre property is being thoughtfully used to plant and grow as much vegetables as we possibly can to feed our family of 4 for the entire year. We have had a few years of experience with expanding our garden space, learning how to garden, initially with a small raised bed garden, and eventually expanding our backyard with a larger market garden space where I started selling produce to a local farmer's market and have been doing that for the last 4 years. I've been learning a ton in the process and loving the interactions I've had with the customers and vendors, and especially seeing our children watch their dad try to make a business and work hard, and even watch my daughter help me check people out and make change at the farmer's market. Oh. But this year I realized that all the effort I put into making it to the farmer's market was taking away from my real goals: to be self-sufficient right here in our backyard and to grow enough food to feed our family for the entire year. And this year, that is my goal. And in order to do that, we need to plan, because growing enough food for a year is quite the undertaking, something we've never done before. And my plans have already changed a little bit already this year. And in this video, I'll share with you exactly what we plan to grow, what we have planted already in our windowsill inside our house, what we have under grow lights, and what will be planted in the weeks to come in order to feed our family of 4 for the entire year. We got off to a rough start this year, which was initially exciting when we installed a new greenhouse right behind me here that's totally broken. But a few brutal windstorms damaged our greenhouse, which we're hoping to get replaced by the company that makes it, but that's a whole other story. But I also lost several early trays that I planted, one of onions and broccoli that I had started in this greenhouse, but those trays also got blown during those windstorms, so I had to restart new trays, which isn't the end of the world, but will set me back a little bit in how soon we will harvest those crops. And things like onions take a very long time to grow, so I'll just be a little bit longer until those onions mature in the field. My onion trays I replanted are looking a little sparse with poor germination. I think that's due to old seeds, and because some of the seeds may have blown off during that windstorm. Some of these onion trays still had soil in them, but I couldn't tell if the top layer that had the seeds in them had also blown off or not, because the seeds are so dark and the soil is dark. I couldn't tell if they still had seeds in them or not, so I kind of replanted a lot of these seeds on top of those cells in those onion trays, but I'm still only seeing partial germination in these trays, which isn't great, but it's better than having no onions at all. I did start some trays of onions inside our home, and those are the furthest along onions that we have that are now growing in our greenhouse. Here, our other greenhouse anyway, it's growing well. Our broccoli tray is doing fairly well, but we also had spotty germination with that one as well, and they're still sprouting more each day as it starts to get warm. The internet says you need about 15 broccoli plants per person in order to grow enough food per year. So at minimum, we need 60 broccoli plants. And I planted a lot more than that. I planted a tray with 128 cells of broccoli, but we should have at least 60 plants that germinate. So luckily, I planted extra. Other plants in here are my lettuce mix trays that are for my market garden, which will become salad mix to be sold at a grocery store in the next month or two. So what haven't I planted yet? Well, potatoes and sweet potatoes. In order to grow enough potatoes for my family of 4, I'm planting 60 pounds of seed potatoes, which should yield us 500 to 600 pounds of potatoes, which should cover our yearly needs, I think. I'm growing a red Norland variety, so it's a red potato, because I recently found out my blood sugar is a little bit high, and red skin potatoes are better on the low glycemic scale or whatever for dealing with that. Sweet potatoes, we have slips growing in our windowsill inside, and we also have them in our greenhouse, actually also in soil. Those are two ways to start sweet potato slips. The slips here are what we will plant in the ground in June when the soil temperature has warmed up enough. It needs to be plenty warm for the sweet potatoes to grow. I'm planning to grow one 50-foot row of sweet potatoes, which should be more than enough than we need for an entire year. Now let's go inside to see how the plants are that we started indoors are progressing inside our windowsill. Let's go. I recently added this grow light, which I purchased several years ago, but I never used. I built this kind of stand for it out of scrap wood. So this will prevent my seedlings from getting leggy, which is something that will happen in the windowsill without the added grow light. I've learned this the hard way. You think that you have enough light from the sun, from a plant just being in the windowsill. And then, I mean, you can do that, but then if you leave them there too long, they will sprout, but they won't get enough light. And then they'll get leggy, and then they'll die. Or once they're planted in the ground, they won't make it so far. So I set up this grow light to make sure that the plants don't get leggy and are strong enough to survive once they're planted. I have our first tomatoes growing here. This is a mixture of Amish paste and San Marzano paste tomatoes. I'm planning to let these grow a little bit larger before potting them up. I'm going to do them in a large 4-cell pot like these that I got from Epic Gardening. I really like them. I also started a few cherry tomatoes just for us to snack on throughout the season. And I just realized I never planted any beefsteak style tomatoes, so I might start those right now. We need some fresh tomato slices on our sandwiches and burgers this summer, so let's get those planted right now. Let's start some seeds together real quick. There we go. Okay, cool. Now that's done. I planted a few tomato seeds in each cell, and I'll separate them later once they start to get bigger. I have Cherokee Purple, one of my all-time favorite tasting tomatoes, and this determinate variety called Tasmanian Chocolate, which I've never planted. I intended to grow these for the farmer's market a few years ago, but I just never got around to actually planting them. So these are both open pollinated heirloom varieties. The one is a determinate, one is an indeterminate variety. But I could save the seeds from both, which I love. I also have loofahs growing in here because I didn't start them early enough last year. And in order to get any fruit, so I won't make that mistake again this year. It's actually a tropical plant, so it takes a long growing period to get any fruit. I also have some pumpkins started in the windowsill. These are state fair winning pumpkins from M.I. Gardner. And I'm growing these basically for the challenge of trying to grow a humongous pumpkin, not necessarily for eating, but I have a feeling if we do manage to grow one large enough, like 500 pounds, it would probably give us enough pumpkin puree for the year for pumpkin pies or whatever. And lastly, the most exciting portion of the garden is going to be our chicken garden, and that's right in front, our right front garden right outside the house. Let's go check that out. I want to grow enough food to feed our chickens for the entire year. I love our chickens. Besides all the vegetables that we grow, we depend more so on the chickens to feed us. They're the most important protein that we get is from their eggs year round. They also give us amazing compost that we can use to feed our gardens as well. So I want to make sure that we take good care of our chickens, but I want to do it in a way that doesn't involve spending hundreds of dollars each month at Tractor Supply buying feed bags from the store. And by the way, if this topic interests you, sign up for an email newsletter below if you haven't already, because I'm in the early stages of putting together an online course all about growing your own food to feed your chickens year round. So if you're interested in that, sign up down below. So I asked ChatGPT, how much do I have to grow to feed my chickens for the entire year? If I wanted to feed them beans, corn, squash, and sunflower seeds. How much would I have to grow in order to feed 10 chickens for an entire year and ensure that they maintain that 17% protein so they could keep up with adequate egg laying? So ChatGPT gave me the answer, and I'm applying that to our garden space behind me here for the chickens. I'm going to create 10 rows of the Three Sisters garden method. I'm going to create 10 rows of the Three Sisters garden and 2 rows of sunflowers, which I believe I will be able to harvest all of the sunflower heads to feed them throughout the year, which is very high in protein. And we will only need about half of this space to grow enough corn for the chickens. So the other half will feed our family corn, which is great. And we will also have far too much squash as well. So that will be shared with our family as well. And at the base of each corn stalk, I'm going to plant 2 climbing pole bean seeds that will climb up the stalk and produce enough dried beans so that I could feed the chickens 1 cup of beans each day. And the cool thing is about these seed varieties that I'm planting, one is the Anasazi corn. It's a sweet corn that's very drought tolerant. And it's a cool story because it was found in a cave in New Mexico that was reportedly grown by the Anasazi tribe in that area many years ago. And we'll also be planting 1,500-year-old cave beans, which were also found in a cave in the New Mexico area, also grown by Native Americans. And the squash variety I'm going to be growing is a variety I got from Baker Creek Seeds called the Gete Okosomin, which is a squash variety passed down by Native Americans as well in a different area. These seeds were hard to come by in the quantities that I needed, and perhaps if they produce well, I could create seed collections for people to grow their own chicken gardens at home with these old varieties of corn and beans and squash, all grown by the Native Americans for a true Three Sisters garden. That's something that I'm thinking about. If you're interested in that, let me know down below, because I think that would be a really cool gardening experience. If you think I should look into doing that, let me know down below. I'd really appreciate that. And that about wraps up our video, Matthew. Do you want to say goodbye? How about you tell them to subscribe to our channel if they're not already subscribed to our channel?
Okay.
Tell them. Tell them to subscribe. Say it louder.
Subscribe.
Subscribe. And like this video if you found it helpful in any way. Okay? Thanks for watching. See you next time. Okay, let's go in before it rains.